Hi, I'm April Brooks, and this is Tulsa Talks. The Kauffman Index of Startup Activity reports that around 550,000 Americans start a new business every month. As our society continues to grow and change, entrepreneurship is becoming available to a wider range of people. Today on Tulsa Talks, we're chatting with the owner of Fulton Books, Onikah Asamoa-Caesar, and the owner of Buck Adams' Cosmic Curios, MaryBeth Babbcock, two of Tulsa's most exciting entrepreneurs. Join Kristi Eaton and our guests to learn how to start a thriving business even during the middle of a global pandemic.
The city of Tulsa bills itself as an entrepreneurial city. From the creation of individual and family businesses in the early 1900s along historic Black Wall Street to today's Latinx-influenced shops in the Kendall Whittier neighborhood, Tulsa is a driving force for diverse and inclusive small businesses. In this episode of Tulsa Talks, we will speak with two female small business owners about their journeys. Onikah Asamoa-Caesar is founder and owner of Fulton Street Books and Coffee. She first moved to Tulsa a few years ago as a member of Teach for America. It was during her time in the classroom that she realized there was a lack of representation among people of color in literature and in small business ownership in Tulsa. She strives to change that with Fulton Street.
I did not start out my journey here in Tulsa as an entrepreneur. I came here to teach. I taught first grade at Gilcrease Elementary School, shout out to the 5550, for 3 years. And then started at the foundation in, I think, 2015. No, that's a story, 2016, 2017? It's been like 3 years. So 2020 minus 3 years, whatever that is, 2017. And have always wanted to open a bookstore. And at some point there was an article that said, Tulsa is a place for millennials to open businesses or something like that. It was going around. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. I don't see folks like me opening businesses like that, but let's figure this out. And once my husband and I decided that we were going to make Tulsa home, really started looking more intentionally about what it would look like to bring a bookstore to life here in Tulsa. Faced all the challenges as a Black woman entrepreneur, but as of July 3rd, we're here, we're open, and I'm excited to be able to bring this space to Tulsa.
Fulton Street prides itself on its inclusive nature. Visitors will find books from a variety of authors in the store. One initiative that has gained notoriety for Asamoa-Caesar is the Ally Box. The box is a 3-month subscription service for allies against discrimination and police brutality against people of color. Each box comes with 2 books, curated resources, and suggestions for ways to take action. The box service has sold out and has been featured in publications around the globe.
The subscription box that went viral basically was the Ally Box. And that was really created after the murder of Breonna Taylor and George Floyd. And we were at this point in our community, and I say community, across the United States, where folks were in quarantine and lockdown and couldn't necessarily run away from those issues in a way that people usually do, right? I'm busy, I'm out, I'm doing this, that, or other, but we were all at home. And so I think folks had to grapple with that a little bit differently, folks who have had the privilege of ignoring issues of systemic race in this country. And so we had a lot of folks who were reaching out because we're a bookstore that's focused on literacy, focused on building community. 70% of our books are written by or featuring people of color, marginalized communities. And so a lot of folks were reaching out to us and saying, what books do I read to learn more? How do I learn about systemic racism in this country? What book should I read first? And our response to what was an overwhelming amount of questions was, we're going to curate a limited subscription service for you, which is we're going to curate a list of books. You'll get some additional resources on how to best ally with the Black community. And we're creating an online community of folks who are on the same journey who want to figure out how to be a better ally to the Black community. And so that was the Ally Box. It went viral. It's featured on MSNBC, Oprah Magazine, USA Today. Just so much good media and good press there. And ultimately, I always say books are necessary but not sufficient. So it's great that folks are reading. It's great that the subscription went viral. But what we're really pushing for is for folks to turn that new learning, that new knowledge, that new understanding into action every day in their lives, whether it's their personal, professional, or otherwise. So the Ally Box has been, a subscription that that has been super popular. We also recently launched Little and Lit, and so that's just a diverse subscription for children. So every month children get 2 books, with characters that represent a host of different identities. And really, we wanted to make sure that children have access to literature as rich as the world around them. There was this movement, which was, decolonize your bookshelf. How amazing would it be if a child, got to, 18 years old and realized that they had a diverse, set of literature, had access to diverse literature their entire lives. And so instead of having to have folks kind of go back and decolonize, how do we set children up for success early on? And so that's a book subscription that just sends children very diverse literature each month.
Still, she says the journey to entrepreneur has not been an easy one.
There are things that we all know, right, about what the barriers to entry are for people of color, specifically Black entrepreneurs, to open businesses. There's lack of access to capital, so it's hard to find funding to open a business. It's hard to find funding to open a bookstore because the margins on bookstores are, really slim. There's also, I think, a lack of access to knowledge, right? So how do I, if I'm building out a business, where do I go for support with building a business plan? Where do I go for support or mentorship from folks who are already in business? Luckily, I was able to pretty easily get connected to folks who were able to support in different ways. But that's always a barrier for people. If you don't know someone who's opened a business, how do you even know what first step to take? The other thing I will say is, opening a business in North Tulsa is also particularly challenging because, communities like North Tulsa are often overridden with slumlords, and we tend to think about that from a housing perspective, but I think we also have to think about that as business owners from like a commercial building ownership perspective as well, which is there's a notion and a perspective about Black businesses and the type of service you'll get there, the type of dignity that the space calls for or doesn't call for. And from the beginning, I had to, say that I'm building a space that's full of dignity in every way possible because we as Black people deserve nice things, and I won't negotiate that. And I've had to fight every step of the way to ensure that with this building and with the physical space that I was able to ensure that that was true for folks who are walking in here. So a host of barriers, because we exist today. I think that's proof for folks that you can overcome those things. And as a now established business owner, I want to ensure that I'm helping other folks to overcome those barriers to entries as well. We have a strong legacy here in Tulsa of creating business, of having that, hustler mindset of turning those dreams into a reality. And so I'm excited to be in a time where there's a resurgence of Black-owned businesses, and that Black entrepreneurship is being revived here in Tulsa. And so I'm looking forward to being a part of continuing that tradition.
For MaryBeth Babbcock, a love of Tulsa has driven her entrepreneurship journey. The former owner of Dwelling Spaces, Babbcock took on a new role as founder of Buck Adams' Cosmic Curios along Route 66 in Tulsa. The small shop is located in a remodeled historic gas station along the Mother Road. It sells Oklahoma-themed merchandise and Route 66 memorabilia.
I just have this passion for whatever I do. I put everything into it, and I originally had a shop downtown Tulsa from 2006 to 2016 on the old alignment of Route 66 in the Blue Dome district called Dwelling Spaces. And that's where the real love for Oklahoma and Tulsa came alive, and supporting local artists, authors, musicians, everything. And I love to be able to showcase what Tulsa has to offer. And I loved the fact of people coming in and they're shocked, they're surprised, they're like, this is Tulsa? This musician is from Oklahoma? So I love those moments when I see it come across people's face, or they say. And as time went on, I really missed what I did, and I love retail, I love creating with artists, and found this beautiful 1950s Pimco gas station on historic Route 66 in Tulsa. And as I get older, I thought, oh my gosh, what a charming size and to have a store inside an old gas station and give it a new life, revitalize this little building. And it allowed for a prime spot for a new roadside attraction. So here I opened Buck Adams Cosmic Curios on Route 66. And when I opened this, it was in April of 2018. I had known that the Mother Road Market was coming. It hadn't opened yet. And so I knew that was in, so knowing that was coming, I knew it was a smart way to roll the dice. So here we are 2 years later, almost 3 years later, and you hear the sound of the road work outside. It's just like the movie Cars, the Pixar movie Cars. If you watch that, it's, you know, the excitement of Route 66, you know, with all the neon lights and the people traveling, you know, from Chicago to LA. And then it, you know, it kind of went down and like things closed and it kind of became a ghost town. Well, here we come. We're back up. We're coming back again. And Tulsa is really embracing Route 66, and I couldn't be more excited to be a part of this revitalization.
While people will enjoy what they find inside the shop, it's what is located outside that draws visitors from around the world. A 21-foot-tall muffler man called Buck Adam is located just outside the store. It's one of several located across the historic highway that runs from Chicago to Santa Monica, California.
Buck is what they call a muffler man, and they were originally made in the 60s. For tire shops, gas stations, to get people to come into their stores. There's about 12 of them on Route 66. So if you start in Chicago, go all the way to LA, there's muffler men all along the route. And opening this store, I was like, I need a mascot. So Buck being the cowboy, Adam being the space, so he's our space cowboy. And we found a gentleman in Virginia, actually, that's still making them. So we had him make them. We sold commemorative bricks, and we had a lot of different property owners, business owners want to see this happen, so they contributed to make him come to life. But Buck's mission is to help revitalize Route 66. And so he has a little story. Back in the 50s, he used to rodeo up and down Route 66, and one day a rocket ship pulled him up into space. And then he was zooming across Route 66, but from space, noticed from up there it needed some help with revitalization. He spotted this little gas station and landed here. That's his story.
For Babbcock, like many others, it's the people of Tulsa that drive her love of the community.
I love Tulsa. I think I kind of touched on it earlier as far as the way Tulsa embraces creative people. That it's not a competition, it's people working together, other like-minded people, and they want to see Tulsa succeed. They want Tulsa to be unique. They want Tulsa to stand out. And I think my main reason for loving Tulsa is that, the people.
Thanks for joining us today on this episode of Tulsa Talks. It's exciting to watch Tulsans seize the opportunities of a changing culture and our changing economy to find new ways to solve problems and grow businesses even during this wildly challenging time. If you liked this video, hit like and press subscribe, and remember to hit all notifications so you'll never miss another episode.